Training camp is here, as is Tank Tuesday. Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bull Brack, live at the PHNX headquarters in downtown Phoenix. Arizona Cardinal players live on the practice field today, albeit for conditioning tests, a little bit of trial and error in the trainer room. We do not have the results yet of a certain franchise quarterback's physical. We're anxiously awaiting to see if Kyler Murray lands on PUP or not. But we did get a glimpse, some insight into a shirtless Budda Baker, who Bo Brack appears poised to join his teammates on the field for the first time this offseason.
Well, let's everybody judge for themselves. Does this seem like a disgruntled employee, producer Emma?
Hey, man. All I want to know is, are y'all fucking ready, man? Go Carson.
Apologies, earmuffs for the little ones if they're listening in the car on the podcast only or audio only version. But look, that seems like it would be silly if Budda Baker doesn't step onto the practice field after amping up and gassing up the Arizona Cardinals fan base, saying, "Are you ready?" And then he's going to say, "Hold on, I'm not ready. I'm waiting to put ink to paper on an extension." Just speculating and putting a hypothetical out there, but it seems like he's poised to be back on the grass at State Farm Stadium with the rest of his teammates when they take the practice field for the first time tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, he's a football junkie. We talked about it on yesterday's podcast about how he and Gannon's personalities kind of mirror each other, and it would be very difficult for Bo Brack and Budda Baker to not be on the practice field. And then subsequently now we get the first inside inkling into what he plans on doing. And I think we can all agree he's going to practice tomorrow with his teammates, something that we predicted on this show on Monday. And I think it's great. It's great for this fan base. The speculation's out the door. And also the fact that we know he's going to be around presumably for the next 2 years. So if you were waiting to make a purchase on one of those new red or white jerseys, I think number 3 is safe right now. And to everybody in the chat already killing it, saying Budda looks ripped. He's in the best shape of his career. And yeah, I get it. That can be overstated this time of year. The guy's a 6-time Pro Bowler. Like, he looks like he's going to have a fantastic season. And Cardinals desperately need him to. They have, very few proven commodities defensively. And then you've got number 3 in the back end with Marco Wilson and Jalen Thompson, but just somebody that can command not only the defense, but the locker room. This is everything that the Cardinals needed to have happen as we anxiously await what's going on with Kyler Murray. They needed one of their 2 faces of the franchise to be out there as a rallying cry. And I hope that Budda Baker gets paid in some kind of capacity, whether it's guaranteed money up front, maybe added years onto his contract. I think 99% of Cardinal fans feel that way. It was never about, I think, for Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon not wanting Budda Baker around and not wanting to reward him. But, the more I think about it, they didn't want to set a precedent. They didn't want to set a precedent like Steve Keim that we were going to, and I hate using this term, reward like hold-ins or reward dysfunction in the media. And like Budda notwithstanding, like what happened last year with DJ Humphries and Marcus Golden, like Monti Ossenfort was dead set on not allowing that to take over his camp this year.
Sure,
right?
I mean, and it's not a knock or an indictment on Budda Baker.
No, it's just bad
Monti
timing.
Ossenfort was singing his praises in his opening press conference, right? That's the type of player that any NFL, any football guy is going to fall in love with. And I'll maintain, like, they've wanted Budda Baker to obviously be a happy camper and an employee that, feels respected, but at the same time, they got a job to do. They've got a tone to set as an organization, and they had a mess to clean up as far as prioritizing a guy who they have under contract for 2 seasons. It just wasn't a top priority. And that's not any disrespect to Budda Baker. It was focusing on, hey, how do we get this organization that is, not to steal, a soundbite, but a sinking ship from a known Cardinals hater, but the organization was sinking and they needed to get it back afloat. And I think that Monti Ossenfort treading water all offseason, finally in a position to start, looking further down the line than just setting themselves up for success in the 2024 offseason. Of course, taking care of business and what they're going to need in their first season together, him and Jonathan Gannon and his entire staff. But, this was just something that it felt inevitable, right? I mean, Johnny, you had sources that were saying, this was just something where Budda didn't really have a whole lot of leverage, and it was just going to kind of be at a stalemate. And it's just this negotiation where there wasn't a whole lot to negotiate. It had been done, but we'll see what happens. I mean, because when you do look at the next 2 seasons, you see the base salaries, right? You see what his cap hit's going to be, but then you also look at that guaranteed dollars, just a little column, and it's empty. It's zero. It's as many guaranteed dollars as you and I and the chat have.
Yeah, we do love our guaranteed money. Budda Baker in Gannon's system will be awesome. Agent 47 saying, can't wait to see it. I think you echo everybody's comments. And yeah, to Bo's point, like this show, if you've been following along for some time, like when Budda Baker announced his, hope or aspirations to be traded because of his contract dispute, we were pretty adamant. We had a source like the Cardinals were like, that's fine. We're not going to trade you. Ossenfort's not going to trade him. Jonathan, they want Budda Baker here, but they want it at their price. And I think they're going to get that at least for the time being. But again, Marcus in the chat, this defense is a couple players away from being scary AF for the rest of the league. Buckle up. I think that, again, the defensive tackle room is a work in progress. And if Jonathan Gannon can make chicken shit salad out of that group, I'm not going to go off the deep end here, then he deserves all the accolades, because I do think there are some nice pieces defensively. There's just a lot of unknowns, right? There's a lot of unknowns, and that's why it's imperative that you have Budda Baker on the field in the back end, the field general, your defense, along with guys Gannon trusts like Kazir White and company. So the middle of your defense is solidified outside of your defensive line. So I'm with you, Marcus. I'm bullish on this unit too. It just, even more so than the offense without Kyler Murray, it's going to take some immense patience, I think, from the fan base. You go and look at the first 4 to 6 weeks. Gannon was the DC in Philadelphia who had more talent. They had Fletcher Cox. They had Brandon Graham. How long did it take for everybody to get bought in and do it at a high level? I know definitively, Bo, he's not going to have the egos, JG, that he had in Philadelphia. Like, he had to court Fletcher Cox over like an 18-month process to buy in, and eventually it did, and it led to a Super Bowl berth and 70 sacks. Here it's going to be more like, who can play or not, right? Like, are any of these guys worth, for lack of a better phrase, keeping around? And I do think that the edge rusher group has talent, the secondary has talent, and Gannon can make linebackers that are afterthoughts or undrafted free agents, late round picks, into stars. It really is just going to take some time to get their feet wet, and the front seven hopefully ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I see Neil asking who's his agent. David Mulangetta, still his agent, and he's the agent of also Isaiah Simmons and many of the top safeties in the NFL. Very good at getting the job done for that position group. And then we've got who was asking about the free agent signings. Jonathan Fine, thanks for joining the program in the chat. We'll get into that a little bit later. But, I mean, you got that better built offseason that Budda and Jalen Thompson spent together working out at. And for two guys that are not, two guys without sleeves on a podcast, flab of the arms. I mean, these guys were in shape, right? Budda Baker and JT. And to say that they're in the best shape of their career is really saying something. And for them to come in and work under a coach with the skill set like Jonathan Gannon, it is scary. I mean, it is scary, and it's going to be necessary, right? I mean, their numbers are going to be robust. I mean, as robust as any safeties in the league, because unless they get unique production out of some unknown players on the defensive front, those guys are going to be, 120 plus tackles. They're going to have to be all over the field in order for this defense to just tread water.
So we've got some concern, rightfully so, for the cornerback position in the chat. Free Matter for the Blind saying, wish we still had Byron Murphy. Dylan in the chat, our guy, cornerback is a problem in my opinion this year. I mean, like, I agree with that to some extent, but I also know, like, you can coach up corners. Jalen Thompson can play a hybrid corner role. I think Marco Wilson has high-end number 2 cornerback stuff, and Antonio Hamilton was good last year before his incident. So they at least have bodies, and I'm not even counting the Syracuse 3rd-round pick and Garrett Williams. It really just, for me, comes down to Bo's point. It's just like, you either can move people on the line of scrimmage or you can't, or you get moved. And their defensive line group, if I had to critique one thing that Ossenfort and Gannon didn't do this offseason, like go out and sign or trade for a quality starting, not even a high-profile defensive tackle. And maybe they just assess, like, it's not worth it. Like, the money's not worth it. The guys who are available, they're too old, they're broken down. Cardinals have been burned with guys like Jordan Phillips and of course Robert Kimdichie. They just, to me, it's the defensive tackle group, not the D line, because I think their edge rushers have promise. It's going to be if they have a 2 to 3 man defensive tackle front, those 3 and 5 techniques, like who are those people?
Right.
Can they play 17 games? Can they not get run over by San Francisco and Seattle's offensive line? That is the biggest question mark, not only on the defensive side, Bo, but I think on the entire roster.
Yeah, and no doubt about it. I mean, you look at it, it's just who's going to step up. You got Rashard Lawrence, Lecky Fotu entering their 4th and final year of their rookie deals. You got Carlos Watkins, who you brought in, Ben Stilley, who you brought in. It's just, if you're just tuning into this podcast for the first time or you're a Cardinals casual, you're probably still like, who are those guys, right?
Exactly.
And, they need people who emerge, and with that, to your point, like Rashard Lawrence, I think he can be a guy, right? He's shown signs of it. It's just one of those guys that, unfortunately can't get out of the training room. He had one injury last year, came back from it, and then suffered another injury. And it's obviously a violent and tough physical position, as physical as that gets in the NFL. But the Arizona Cardinals need guys that can stay out on the playing field. And, if you look to Jonathan Gannon's defense last year, that was a strength. That was absolute strength. It was a rotation. Probably you'd be hard pressed to find a more impressive rotation, especially when they added Ndamukong Suh at the back end of the season than what they had with Javon Hargrove, Fletcher Cox. They had Jordan Davis, the 1st round pick out of Georgia, who's a mountain of a man. And then you add Ndamukong Suh. That's absolutely absurd. And then he goes to, the sandwich platter that the Arizona Cardinals are offering. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't think somebody can step up. Absolutely. But it's just gonna come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I want a sandwich. Fishbowl Flash in the chat. Top 100 pick next draft will be a D tackle or 2. I would agree with that. I think guys like if a certain Georgia product wasn't an unmitigated disaster off the field, he would have been an Arizona Cardinal. Like I think we all feel good about that. But there were too many question marks, way too many question marks with the off the field concerns. And I mean, you got to the 2nd round and the talent wasn't there. The talent was there at edge rusher and corner and receiver. That's why they took advantage. But this was not a great defensive line class, and this was not a great defensive tackle free agency class. And yes, typically those guys who are in their mid-20s don't hit free agency. Like we had been dreaming about maybe Quinnen Williams becoming available. Then he gets the bag just a couple of weeks ago. So that's a perfect topic point for our draft college football show that will be debuting during the season. It's going to be on Tuesday nights. Check that out. We're going to be doing a deep dive into draft prospects and how they might fit this Redbird roster. But Dylan in the chat saying Carlos Watkins is sneaky good. They're going to need guys like that to play above what they've done in the past. And to my co-host's point, like I like Rashard Lawrence. He just can he stay healthy for 17 games? Can he stay healthy for 13 games? I think they would take that. But for me, at the end of the day, they're going to be in a difficult spot if Kyler Murray is not number 1 back and humming, because they're going to be playing from behind in a lot of instances. Yeah. What it seems like to do is they like to go to 11, 12 personnel and run right at you. San Francisco wants to do that. We know Pete Carroll and Seattle want to run the football. So Budda Baker, back to our original point, it is imperative that you have him here to make sure people are lined up, to make sure that he can clean up the messes in the secondary, to force extra downs, to maybe you can get a turnover. But yeah, their run defense is a problem. But if today's group of transactions are any indication, Bo, maybe they're starting to see, okay, this needs replaced, this needs upgraded, and we're forgetting they're going to have the 3rd waiver claim throughout the preseason and training camp. So if somebody gets cut, they're going to be first in line. And I'm still very much of the mindset, like defensive tackle has to be atop the priority list of watching what other teams do and don't do and maybe snagging somebody.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to be in the business for, a guy in the latter stages of his career. No. I mean, but if they see somebody, and I think they see it like in a Watkins or a Stilley that came over that was given up by the Browns, like say, hey, this might be something we could work with. This might be somebody that we can jumpstart their career and maybe, given a unique opportunity in a snap load that they haven't seen at this level before, can come production that nobody's seen before. I think Jacob Slade, a guy out of Michigan State that they signed post-draft that they seem to have prioritized, that could be somebody that could emerge. They certainly are trying to flood the position with numbers. And we'll see if anybody pops. You got Dante Stills, who they took with their final draft pick in the 2023 class out of West Virginia. But is he a little bit undersized? Is he going to play maybe like a 3-4 defensive end if they get into a 3-4 setup? So we'll just kind of see, and we're going to start to find out, how they're going to approach it and what the snap loads are going to look like early on, starting tomorrow.
Well, from one line of scrimmage to the other, are the Arizona Cardinals in the market for a new center, and did they find one? We're going to talk about that. But first, it's BetMGM swing for the fences. Just a reminder, we're going to be at BetMGM Sportsbook every single football Sunday at the Great Lawn, pregame, halftime show, postgame, my co-hosts and I, and many more. Come and hang with us. If you don't want to grab tickets right now, if you want to just come and hang out on the Great Lawn, party at the sportsbook, it's the number one sportsbook. It's BetMGM. How do you play BetMGM swing for the fences? It's easy, friends. Log into the BetMGM Sportsbook app, play the BetMGM free-to-play game from the early portion of the summer, runs through all September till September 7th. Be a batter and pick an area of the strike zone, depending on the area of the strike zone that you pick, double, single, triple, home run, or pop out, and receive the prize associated with that type of hit. But you got to use it within 24 hours. Listen, right now, maybe I don't want to bet against the Diamondbacks, but it's not a good look for the D-backs right now. Maybe some good mojo on BetMGM will get our D-backs turned around. And in the meantime, if you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, use bonus code PHNX. Now, there's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our friends here in Arizona, place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses with BetMGM. But you got to use that bonus code PHNX to do so. Check out the show notes for full details, and now listen to my guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 Nevada. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, or Ontario.
I'm bummed to tell everybody that we're not going to be doing our Four Peaks broadcast tomorrow. It's actually canceled, but we're going to be I'm going to be at a training camp tomorrow. It's kind of just a conflict for us to get up to Tempe from Glendale and do the show and do a great show from there. So we're still going to do, of course, we're live tomorrow at 4:30, just not at Four Peaks. So don't show up for our last Wednesday broadcast from the PHNX crew. I am excited to tell you that the Christmas in July event, Four Peaks, it's going down tonight. It's sold out. They're going to be doing tappings of Johnny's, one of his favorite beers, pumpkin porter there tonight. You don't want to miss out on that. They've got all this tasty ice cold beer that they're tapping tonight at this Christmas in July. If you listen to the show, you would have known. If you follow them on social, you won't miss out on events like this going forward. Just follow them at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub, and you can find out about all their great events, all their great beer, by following on your socials. Check them out. Of course, 8th Street in Tempe, their OG location's been there for 25 years. They brew all their beer on location, like their flagship Kilt Lifter, like the #1 wheat beer in Arizona, the Wow Wheat. Go check it out for yourself. Incredible menu, appetizers, entrees, desserts, and all that great beer. Got to be 21 years or older to drink the beer, but we also ask that you do it responsibly.
Absolutely. Is it responsible to start Yelda Froldholt at center? Maybe it's not. So over the course of the offseason, Yelda Froldholt was the presumed incumbent starting center, but we all put a big fat caveat on that, Bo Brock, because we had the NFL draft and we said, you know what? It's going to be Luke Whippler. It's going to be the kid out of TCU in the second round. They're going to get a center. And then outside of John Gaines, who's got position versatility, they didn't really draft a center, right? So then Yelda Froldholt, who's, doing CrossFit in his garage, he's going to be the guy. Comes from Cleveland. He's 26 years old. He's got a familiarity with Drew Petzing. And then we kind of heard whispers, Bo, behind the scenes that maybe it's not going to be him. They had worked out a couple guys in June, and then came this news today on the eve of training camp. And again, this is not good news if you are, I'm sorry, Emma, if you are Yelda Froldholt. That's Geoff Swaim. We're going to talk about that in a second. So veteran offensive center, a former third-round pick out of Ohio State, Pat Elflein, who was a draft pick out of Minnesota, who played meaningful snaps for Carolina last year, was signed. He's got a heck of a lot more experience than Yelda does. He's 29 years old. His pass block grade for PFF last year was right around 65. Not terrible, not great, but he is a NFL caliber starting center. Like, you can start him and hopefully not embarrass yourself. Whereas Yelda, I think the people that were excited was because he was an unknown. He's in his mid-20s, but obviously either the team is looking for more depth or they're looking to replace Yelda in the starting lineup. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it just seems like that this was, in a weird way, the day they report to training camp, the team landed on who's going to be their starting center. I just think it's going to trend that direction.
Yeah.
I think that the team really likes Yelda Froholt. I think they really like his versatility, kind of a Swiss Army knife, a guy that can play all 5 positions on the line. And I think that they're going to tap into it, just like Jonathan Gaines II. I mean, I think that's somebody that they really like his versatility, and early on, they're going to lean on that. And then if he develops into maybe a center of the future, they'll embrace that. But in the meantime, they need somebody. Like, all 5 of the offensive line positions are ones you don't F around with. If you don't have somebody that has experience at center and you're just going to roll the dice, you're going to look like you did last year, where you're just bringing guys off the street like a Billy Price. You're bringing, got Sean Harlow. It was Rosita Smith got a kind of a sniff at it in practice, and you're just praying every night to the football gods that Rodney Hudson, who you had to, coax out of retirement, could he get healthy? He never got healthy. And it was just a position that was in flux. And I think that they're trying to avoid that. And they bring in a guy that has over 2,600 NFL snaps at the position. And by far the most on the Cardinals roster right now. It's a guy who's proven, like, he's not elite, right? Not by any means. Is he starting caliber? I think he's borderline. But he's going to bring experience at that position that's so important, and he's just going to kind of beef up this offensive line. And I think people pull for Yelda Froholt. I think you see the guy; he's a guy animal in the gym. He's putting in the work. It's not for not a lack of effort, but as far as being an experienced NFL center, he just didn't have it. And I think that the Cardinals absolutely needed that, especially with the franchise quarterback. You're trying to figure out, when do we bring him back? Well, you got to have that position locked in if you're going to even, entertain it.
Yeah, let's turn the clocks back 6 years, okay, back to 2017. So Pat Elflein was a 3rd-round pick, right? Where did he go? Minnesota. What did they do that year? Well, he started 14 games as a rookie, and the Minnesota Vikings were the 2 seed in the NFC playoffs and went to the NFC title game. Who is the defensive backs coach for that team? Jonathan Gannon. I also believe Drew Petzing was on that Minnesota Vikings staff. So they have a familiarity with Pat Elflein. And again, this is not an indictment, I think, of Yelda Froholt at face value. I think anybody who would have said Yelda Froholt is your starting center in March, like myself, we would have all looked at you cross-eyed. But now, over the course of the last 6 months, it's like, well, he's the starter because they haven't signed anybody else. So had Pat been signed around the same time as Yelda, it would have been obvious. Like, this is an open competition that favors Pat, right? Because he's got experience with the staff and he's got actual experience starting games. But I think the way that we've got to contextualize this is, to Bo's point, they don't screw around with their offensive line. Everybody else may think this team is tanking, even though Gannon, privately is adamant that they are trying to win as many games as possible. Gannon's not trying to tank anything this year, but they're leaving some incumbents from the prior regime to kind of work stuff out. They're not doing that on the offensive line, because what from the offensive line last year, it's just not good enough. They go 4 deep now at tackle, and now they're not all pros, but you've got, I would say, below average to slightly above average interior offensive linemen at your disposal, from Will Hernandez to Elflein to Yelda Froholt to John Gaines. You got the kid out of Tennessee who I think is going to push to start at one of the guard spots. So, I mean, I would sign as many veteran offensive linemen as I could, and just let the best 5 play, assuming you keep Paris Johnson at right tackle, and then you're going to need them. It's a long season. 17 games is a long time.
Yeah, Ben on a bit of a heater. He's strung together back-to-back good chats here. Depth is always good, absolutely. And, of course, the more competition, the better, especially on the offensive line. And I think when you look at Froholt, I mean, he immediately slides down. He's your backup center. So now you have a backup with experience. You don't have to turn to John Gaines, who didn't play center last year for UCLA. He played a couple snaps there at the previous season, so he's over a year removed. It's like, is he just going to immediately find his way at the NFL level? I think that's a bit naive. As much as you want to be excited about the most athletic offensive lineman in the 2023 NFL draft class, I mean, to have Elflein, to have Frodeholt, I think that it just, with the depth and the competition, it just is good news for the Arizona Cardinals. It just is. I feel bad that Frodeholt missed out on the opportunity even really before it began. But, you know, it's good that Monti Ossenfort is somebody, he's always in the lab. He's always running tests. He's always making tweaks. And he realized, hey, we can't have this be a question mark going into the season as much as we want this guy. But now you've got two guys with experience. I like that you brought up with Petzing, Frodeholt last year in Cleveland, and then Elflein in Minnesota. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, and he was on that staff. Petzing was the offensive quarterback coach or offensive
everything. It was quarterbacks, tight ends, wide receivers.
Yeah, he was on that staff, and so he's worked with Frodeholt and he's worked with Elflein, and they're going to let the best man win. And I would lean toward the 29-year-old veteran. They're going to go with their guys. And here's another piece of the team leaning toward their own. This is a signing today that's been made official on a couple different outlets. The Cardinals have added a tight end from Tennessee, Monti Ossenfort, going back to his old stomping grounds. He gets veteran tight end. Let me pull it up here. George Swaim. I think I've got his name correct. This is from Jeremy Fowler. He was an 8-year vet, consistent starter with Tennessee the last few years. Yeah, now this is the sexiest name. He was once upon a time a day 3 draft pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Somebody who caught a touchdown last year. But the biggest thing is, I think this just kind of shows Zach Ertz, he's not ready yet. That's what I took from this. Trey McBride is the unquestioned number 1 tight end, the number 1 option in the passing game. And then now you've got another starter that I think you could keep around if eventually Zach Ertz comes back, when he comes back, I should say. Yeah. But like you need a starting caliber tight end because they're running 2 tight ends. They're running 11 and 12 personnel with Trey McBride and now George Swaim while Zach Ertz continues his recovery from a torn ACL.
Man, I mean, what a different look, right?
Yeah.
Quarterback under center. You're going to have, two pro caliber centers on the roster this year at least. And you're going to have, this different offensive look where you could have 2 tight end sets. Let's have a tough conversation. Okay.
I love those.
Because you mentioned it. It's tough conversation Tuesday here, as well as Tank Tuesdays with Cardinals Ken, Johnny Venerable and his pink tank. If Zach Ertz doesn't start the season with the active 53, when he comes back, is he your tight end 1?
No, Trey McBride is my tight end 1. I loved Zach Ertz. I was beating that drum 6 months before. I had it sourced that the Cardinals had talked to the Eagles, and then 2 days before they traded for him, I was like, they're going to trade for Zach Ertz, and they did, and it was great. And it should have been the crescendo, the chef's kiss on a division title and a championship season, and it all went up in flames. And then Steve Keim paid a 30-year-old tight end. I love Zach Ertz, and I know JG loves Zach Ertz. They're boys from Philadelphia. Trey McBride is the number 1 tight end on this team. Trey McBride is in his early 20s. Zach Ertz, call it what you will, had not trouble separating last year, but he was older. And now he's coming off a torn ACL. For me, it's like what Zach Ertz is going to bring is immense leadership and unquestioned character that this locker room desperately needs. And then if he can offer some benefits, maybe in the red zone, he's a tremendous red zone target. But from 20-yard line to 20-yard line, give me the young thoroughbred out of Colorado State that's poised for 60-plus targets. You drafted him, albeit with a different regime. I guarantee Ossenfort and Gannon liked this young man, Trey McBride, out of Colorado State. How could you not? He was the number 1 tight end by most everybody in that class. Set him loose. You're going to play young players anyway. I love Zach Ertz. If he's healthy, of course, he's in the mix. But Trey McBride's tight end number 1 in my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, you just watch film from last year, this Cleveland Browns offense, and it's like you got David Njoku, and then you got Hunter Bryant, and you had a 2 tight end set that, I don't think opposing defenses really key in consistently on where the ball was going to go. And that's going to be exciting. I mean, I think it's, if you bog yourself down with like who's tight end 1, who gets to announce themselves on the opening graphic, and get to say where they went to school, sure, then give it to Zach Ertz, give him that respect. But I mean, the snaps are going to probably be equal, if not, going to the side and trending to the side of the second round pick at Colorado State in Trey McBride. And that's the way it should be. Ease Ertz back in and let him, hopefully end his career and in his Cardinals career on a healthy note and make some plays for this offense.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see the leap Trey McBride makes. He's my fantasy breakout player for this team. I think he can be a top 12 tight end in the NFL because I think his receiving skills are that elite. I don't think the Cardinals have and this isn't asking much, a homegrown tight end like this in 30 plus years. I mean, Troy Nicholas was a bust. Rob Hausler was a bust. I mean, the bar is really low, and that's why everybody was so bullish when Zach Ertz got to town. But this is somebody that, I mean, he looked a little, I don't want to say slight, but I'm sure he put on weight this offseason. I'm sure the strength and conditioning program, he's going to be probably about 10 to 15 pounds heavier with muscle because he was already so elite in the open field at Colorado State. I'm excited to see him put it all together and get opportunities because he was open last year when Kyler was in the lineup and Cliff was calling plays and it was shotgun BS left and right. And to somebody's point in the chat, like once they got conservative with David Blau, like McBride was a featured part of the offense. And I think the offense is going to be semi-conservative until Kyler Murray comes back. Even when he comes back, they're going to run a lot of 11 personnel. So play action, down the seam, red zone targets. I'll go on the record right now. I think Trey McBride has a chance to lead the team in receiving the first month of the season. I think he's going to be that big of a benefactor because of the emphasis they're going to put on tight end and the fact Hollywood's Browns got to go against number one corners. That's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I mean Amari Cooper was the top receiver still. And it's also they're going to spread the ball around, and I think that if you're the top tight end, it doesn't mean that the ball is just going to be fed to you, and you got another tight end on the field that's going to be a weapon as well. Swaim in the chat saying, people saying he's maybe more of a primarily a blocking tight end. I looked at his PFF grades. It doesn't necessarily reflect that, but also those aren't the gospel either. But I think he's your third tight end, and that's fine. And there's experience there. Monty obviously liked what he saw from his time in Tennessee, and that's fine. Dylan saying about Blake Whiteheart. Yeah, he got a huge signing bonus for an undrafted free agent. I think that's somebody that they like as well. Certainly going to get every opportunity to crack this roster.
I like this from Jalen Blair. I think the new system is going to benefit McBride more with the delayed releases and over routes. It's a tight end made offense. I watched David Njoku drop a lot of passes, but they kept targeting them with Jacoby Brissett last year. I think he's poised, and we've got some people asking like, what do you do with Zach Ertz? It's difficult because I think we can lodge Zach Ertz and say he's been a great addition to the locker room, and also say like this is his last year with the team. Like barring something unforeseen. Like they're paying him a premium unless he were to take like a Kelvin Beachum type role, like beyond this year and take less money and want to stay here, which I could see happen. But like he's making 8 figures this year. James Conner is making 8 figures this year. Like I don't expect neither to be on the roster next year at those figures. Again, it would have to be significant pay cuts. So does somebody want to come and trade for Zach Ertz by the trade deadline? Maybe, but you'd have to be convinced if you're that team that he's healthy and ready to go. And it would probably
wants to go.
Yeah. And it would be a championship run for whomever that trades for him. The Cardinals are significantly out of it at that time. So all of that to say, like, I love Zach Ertz. He's not a part of their imminent future, like the next 3 to 5 years. Trey McBride is in my opinion, budding tight end star in this league. I think he's got that kind of ceiling. And so he's in his second year. You have to play him. That was the biggest indictment of the Keim era. The failure to develop draft picks, and part of that was the lack of playing time. The team did not know what they had with Byron Murphy and Christian Kirk and Zach Allen because they were played out of position and they didn't play enough early on. Like, if this year is going to be about what's Zaven Collins do best, what's Isaiah Simmons do best, let's feed Trey McBride 50-plus targets so we have an idea, so we don't have to target a tight end, your boy from Georgia next year in the top 10 of the draft. I don't want any part of that. You love
Brock
him.
Bowers. Paul. I won't say his name. Brock. I mean, that would be elite. That would be an elite tight end.
That would not be elite. I don't want that.
And I don't want to write off Zach Ertz just yet. And I think there's gonna be a lot that goes into
No,
would he be okay get dealt? I mean, it was either Philly or here. Those were what his options were a couple of years ago when the Eagles were looking to deal him, and he doesn't want to just go anywhere and chase a ring. He's got a ring. His wife's family's from here. He had his first kid. I think, when he's he's looking at all the options here. I don't think it's just going to be as simple as, hey, Zach, we've got the Bills on the line and they want to send us a 5th round pick. I think even Monti Ossenfort's like, I already have a lot of picks. I got 11 picks for the upcoming draft. What's a 5th round pick going to get me? I'm going to respect, what you've already done for this organization in his 3rd season. And I think that's fine. And I think that he also has decent football left in him and is determined to get back and show that he has that. So
between he and James Conner, I think there's a better chance he's back next year at a reduced rate.
Yeah,
I
very
think
possible.
So. If they run as much 2 tight end as we anticipate.
Yeah, and the points, Jalen Blair's point about how this offense is geared towards McBride and success for the second-year player, absolutely. I mean, you look at his touchdown from last season against the Falcons, and it was just one little kind of misdirection, and he's got the speed at his position to where it's lethal. Like nobody could recover from that, and it was an easy TD for McBride. And if you're setting up where opposing defense thinks he's blocking, and then he kind of releases and he's wide open, I mean, that's enough to make a big play. And that's why Petzing, in at least Cleveland, they had the top 5, as far as open receivers, they had top 5 open receivers in the entire league, and that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, look at Trey McBride had roughly 260 yards last year. That's almost identical to what another 2nd round tight end did once upon a time. Cole Kmet had 243 as a rookie. So Trey McBride actually had more yards as a rookie than Cole Kmet. Then Kmet had a big second year.
Week 1.
Yeah, I mean, that was a joke. Let's not get into that. But then Kmet the next year, 612 yards. And then the following year, of course, 544 yards, but 7 touchdowns. Like that's what you drafted this kid to be, is like 600 yards, handful of touchdowns. I easily think that Trey McBride can do that. I think if you said that, okay, he had 260 yards last year and it was in a blink of an eye and it was in some garbage time games last year, meaningful football, feeding him the ball, letting him get into a rhythm, which I think is imperative. They would always just throw him one pass in like the 3rd quarter and that would be it. Make him a focal point of this offense. If you can bet on it at any point with BetMGM, he's going to sleepwalk his way to 500 plus yards. I think there's a very good chance he is the 2nd or 3rd leading receiver for this team.
Be big. I mean, if he gets the looks, but there's going to be another tight end mostly on the field, and there's going to be Hollywood, and then probably we'll see how many mouths the quarterback can feed, from Michael Wilson to Rondell Moore to Greg Dortch. I mean, there's a lot of playmakers on this team that get slept on. I recommend you check out Howard Balzer's article today on the offense at gophnx.com. But we're going to find out what it's going to start to look like for real tomorrow. Can't wait. Also can't wait to check out the new pink lemonade that is on the shelves of our friends over at OG's. OG's, of course, your local Arizona cannabis kitchen. The pink lemonade gummies are here. They're limited edition. They're fresh. They're tangy. They've got the hint of red berry and plenty of sugar. It, of course, has the nostalgia of that ice cold pink lemonade that your grandma used to make. You used to drink it on the front porch, right? All that nostalgia right there. Is it laying it on too thick? Well, it's a gummy edition. You can check it out from OG's. Check out all their incredible products. OGsBrands.com. That's OGsBrands.com. That refreshing twist on that classic summer beverage, that pink lemonade. Also, you can get in on their aquaberry flavored sleep time gummy. It's going to help put you to sleep and keep you asleep. And then they got the mixed bags. Figure out if you're a fruit or a cream person. Check it out for yourself. Check out all their products. OGs.com. Check them out on your socials as well, at OGs Brands. And then, of course, you got to be 21 years or older to indulge.
Open training camp practices are imminent. If you're driving out to Glendale, do yourself a favor. Stop off at Circle K. You don't want to be stuck without gas looking for any Joe Schmo convenience store. You want to go to Circle K, where premium gas is not a premium at a premium price. Plus, you need to hydrate, right? You want to bring some snacks in the car. You want to be ready to go. You want to get caffeinated before you watch the Redbirds in 2023. Do yourself a favor. get the SMS subscriber club, which is going to offer you a buy one, get one free 32-ounce Polar Pop of your choosing. All you got to do, text PHNX to 31310 again to join the SMS subscriber club. If you can't find the Circle K, we're going to help you. Head to circlek.com/store-locator to find the nearest Circle K to you. I went out, as did Bo. We made some road trips over the past couple of weeks to San Diego, to Tucson, to different parts of the state, to the coast. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, I don't feel comfortable stopping anywhere but with my friends at Circle K. I know I'm going to get the best gas prices, the best snack selection. So I'm not stuck in the middle of the nowhere where it's 120 degrees. If you want to make sure you're in a good space to buy some premium gas at not a premium price, get on the store locator, find a Circle K nearest to you. I love the optimism, by the way, in the chat today. I'm seeing a lot of 9 wins from Victor, 7 wins from our guy Jose earlier in the chat. It's like, I think there is some momentum now with the combination of how bad the NFC potentially could be, and then when Kyler Murray could potentially return. And that's the question I want to pose to you, Bo, because we've been speculating. Is Kyler Murray going on PUP? Will he start camp on PUP? Well, I don't know if we got any more insight today, but we found out a couple other players around the league, Von Miller including, is starting camp on PUP. He tore his ACL a couple weeks before Kyler Murray. So have you heard anything pertaining to K1 and his availability for, let's just call it, the next couple weeks of training camp?
Yeah, I was actually texting with our beat reporter, Howard Balzer, and they don't have to really reveal or unveil who's going to be on the PUP or the IR start camp until 1 o'clock Arizona time tomorrow. So the Arizona Cardinals can drag their feet on this, do their due diligence and figure out, what direction they want to go with some of their players, including, Ertz, who we just talked about, along with Kyler Murray. And what are they going to do with their 3rd round rookie, Garrett Williams? Are those guys going to be able to start camp coming off of ACL injuries? We really have no idea, right, Johnny? I mean, this was something that the team was going to evaluate starting this week. And it's really just going to be, they're going to have to make a quick decision on whether they want, Kyler to start on PUP, or if it's something that they're going to maybe just roll the dice on. We were trying to figure out, what the advantages of starting on PUP. It just seems like teams are erring with caution in the case of Von Miller, but he's almost 10 years older than Kyler Murray. But at the same time, he doesn't play a premium, as a premium position as the Cardinals franchise quarterback either.
I was trying to look up Joe Burrow potentially won't be placed on the PUP entering training camp when he tore his ACL. So
he was adamant, though. Like, I feel like he was in the news regularly that entire offseason, really saying, like, I'll be back for training camp.
I mean, Joe Burrow is an extrovert. I mean, is as much of an introvert as K1 is. I think he's kind of been making that clear, and we've heard behind the scenes he's made that clear.
Yeah,
like he has told Cardinal officials, and he's mentioned it to Jonathan Gannon. He's like, I want to play. I don't want to be on any list. I want to be available for my teammates. But I also don't. He's not going to ignore the advice of his doctors and the trainers. So if they look at his knee this week and they say, you know what, you would really benefit from time on the PUP when you can focus on this. Let's have a plan. They're putting their plan together right now this week. Like for those of you who don't know, like their plan didn't start 6 weeks ago or 6 months ago. It was always just, let's see how you do entering camp with your rehab. And if you're ahead of schedule, great. And if not, we'll plan accordingly. The plan is being in place this week for how they're going to tackle training camp with Kyler Murray. And the biggest thing is, like, Von Miller, I don't even think needs to practice right now. Von Miller, with, as you mentioned, all the experience, the wear and tear on his body, it's just like, hey, show up week 1 and rush the passer. Whereas Kyler Murray, I mean, you're playing for a team that needs you out there as their signal caller, and also you're learning a new offense. And you've taken a ton of mental reps this offseason. I know people keep pushing mental reps. Like, he watched them throw the football, run the football in mini camp and OTAs. He's been in every film session, every film study group. It's like he needs to take reps with the first team offense if he's going to play early in the season. And so I don't know. If I had to make a prediction right now, it's like, I don't think he's going to start the year on PUP, but if he's not on PUP tomorrow or IR, if they put him on PUP tomorrow, I think that it's going to take a little air out of the fan base, rightfully so, but that doesn't mean he still can't return quickly. If they don't put him on PUP tomorrow, it's going to be the biggest story, I think, in the NFL. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. Absolutely. Because then speculation is going to be rampant, and it's going to be every day we're going to be asking about Kyler Murray anytime we get not just Jonathan Gannon, anybody that's wearing an Arizona Cardinals uniform or polo or what do you know about Kyler Murray? When's he coming back? Because people are going to want to know. And when you look at the non-media attended media day today that they
I'm sorry. What was that? What did the Cardinals do? They had a
media day apparently.
Okay.
I didn't get an invite either to Johnny Venerable, but it's pictures of it. It's video of him and Hollywood Brown and palling around. It's him in his Cardinals uniform. And if you continue to follow the tea leaves, dating back to the flight plan episode that aired where, he's saying his goal is week 1. I mean, the team certainly prepared, they use the stuff that they gather at their media day, like for their in-game, content and their social content. And it's like, that they're preparing for Kyler Murray to be in some games. They're not just going to put video of Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown up on the Jumbotron or on their team social media.
Hey, can we get Jeff Driscoll out here with Hollywood Brown? Well, Jeff, come over here. Jeff's
Colt McCoy is hitting Hollywood Brown on a deep pass, and there's a video of him and Kyler Murray as best friends. I think that, if he's going to miss time, it's not going to be a significant amount of time, if any.
Yeah. I mean, again, when we're fast forward to BetMGM week 1 and we're watching them play the Commanders at the gorgeous sportsbook, come and join us. It's an away game. Come hang out. Like, do I think right now he's going to play week 1? No. But like, do I think he's going to be actively pursuing a return at that time in terms of like practice reps? I do. I still think there's a possibility for week 2 through week 6, Cincinnati at home or beginning with the Giants at home. I think week 2 against the Giants, to me, like in front of your home crowd against the team, like I don't give a shit about the Giants pass rush. That team doesn't scare me. Like Commanders in that environment with that pass rush, maybe you kind of wait it out. And then obviously, then you go on the road for some tough games and you come back against Cincinnati. I feel like week 1 to 2 is in the same time frame. And if you push it further than that, you might as well wait until maybe week 6 at home and have him miss 5 games. You're still getting 12 out of the 17 games. Maybe Colt McCoy can surprise you. But I mean, I know there are going to be people. There are people on Twitter that are actively rooting like against Kyler Murray, which is unfortunate. Like put him on PUP. What's the point? Caleb Williams. And I can understand that. Like you can not like Kyler Murray and want a different quarterback. Nobody says that you can't do that. But it feels like to me, like if you're looking at Kyler Murray and what he's accomplished this offseason, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's worked harder to return for the fan base and for his teammates. And I would, as a Kyler Murray fan and supporter, I want to see that come to fruition for Kyler.
Yeah. You posted it on your Twitter account last night. I don't know if it's a thirst trap or what was it? It was a heater from Kyler Murray. He was in the lab working out late last night, and showing off abs that I can't even dream of abs that, I mean, it was unbelievable. He looked like he was chiseled out of stone. But he's putting in the work. And he's going to push the Arizona Cardinals, and Jonathan Gannon told us that, and he's maintained that sometimes they have to kind of rein in their franchise quarterback, but it's good. It's the competitiveness that he has. Victor saying if they make the playoffs, he's getting a K1 and JG tattoo on his thigh. We're gonna hold you to that. Oh my
goodness, I love that energy, Victor.
Is it the initial embrace, like where they bro hugged on when Jonathan Gannon, the report came out that he was hired?
Man, I would love to stick it to all these lists this offseason and all the detriment. And listen, I'm not Mr. Pom-Pom fanboy up here. Like the Cardinals earned a big shit sandwich for how they've conducted themselves the last 18 months. They have been an egregious franchise on and off the field. I am actively rooting for Monti Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon, Kyler Murray, the Budda Bakers of the world to succeed, right? You can have a gripe to pick with how the Cardinals operate off the field, but like they have a ton of rootable players that need and I think deserve our support. And I'm excited to see that come to fruition because they are going to try to win games. They are not purposely tanking this fall. Now, we've talked about roster self-sabotage. Maybe it's a little lean by October and November. That remains to be seen. But man, Jonathan Gannon took a lot of shit from the Philadelphia media. I would love to see Jonathan Gannon make a bunch of people eat it this fall.
Absolutely. I mean, did you see CJ Gardner-Johnson's comments about Philly fans basically saying they're insufferable? And I mean, and Jonathan Gannon, who had success there and the fan base couldn't acknowledge any of it. They won't. They just won't. So it'd be nice for him to have some success, continue to have success at the NFL level and at the next level as a head coach. It would be huge. And he knows that he needs a quarterback in order to do so. We mentioned Joe Burrow. He hasn't signed a mega $1 million extension just yet, still on his rookie deal. No doubt they picked up his 5th-year option and they're going to work something out. But here's a big contract was signed today by Justin Herbert. He signs a 5-year, $262.5 million contract. And Justin Herbert now, he goes all the way to the top as far as your annual average value, making $52.5 million once this extension kicks in. Lamar Jackson signed an extension this year, $52 million per season. Jalen Hurts at 51, Aaron Rodgers at $50.2 million, and Russell Wilson, bar $49 million, all the way down here at 6, outside of the top 5 now, Johnny, only to sink further down once Burrow signs that inevitable extension. Kyler Murray making $46.1 million per season.
Give me Kyler Murray over Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career. Obviously, give me him over Russell Wilson because he is old and decrepit and looked washed last year. I mean, I love Jalen Hurts. Like Jalen Hurts now loses his OC and his DC. I mean, and they got the target on their back now. But Herbert's earned it. Lamar Jackson's earned it, and I was of the mindset Kyler Murray earned it at the time. So it was always the mindset of this deal is going to age well. When he signed it too, like. The Cardinals had to combat the Deshaun Watson deal that offseason. That threw a wrench in it. It's the contract's going to age fine. If Kyler Murray comes back and is healthy and they win football games, it's going to be a moot point. It's number one, it's not my money. And number two, they have $80 million next offseason. They're going to be able to sign other players. They're going to be a draft and develop organization. I mean, you want to sign and extend your own players because that means they're succeeding for you. And for a franchise that has trotted out Kevin Cobb and Ryan Lindley and John Skelton and Derek Anderson, like, come on, guys, let's have a little bit of clarity here. I can get excited for Caleb Williams if that's the direction the franchise wants to go, if they lose a bunch of games, but Kyler Murray's healthy and they win games. I mean, you're not going to find this podcast complaining one bit.
Yeah. Eddie's asking after Burrow, who's next? Probably Tua. I think that's probably.
You think so?
I think, right? I mean, they picked up his 5th. But it's not going to be like it's extension season. I mean, Kyler signed his a year and some change ago last year. Josh Allen, Patrick, this is all kind of ballpark. But I don't think it's coming like this before the start of the season. No way.
I think maybe they take the Kirk Cousins approach, like franchise year to year, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. And then
just the injury concern.
Was it the next draft? The 2021 draft was the one where nobody was. Really,
we're gonna have Trey Lance is due for an extension here soon off his MVP season. We gotta get Trey Lance a new contract.
Justin Fields.
Yep. Yeah. Jalen Blair, Trevor Lawrence is next. I would agree. Like probably this time next year, Big Trev. But I don't know. It's that class, man.
It's the next class where it's just like Kenny Pickett.
Do you see that little clip the team put? They're like, Kenny's arm's way stronger this year, guys. Don't worry about old Kenny's arm. I'm sure Kenny's arm is going to look good in September, and then you fast forward to November, and he's got little baby hands, can't hold on a football. But
I also saw. I mean, speaking of like gassing up your players, I saw that Russell Wilson. He's reinvigorated under Sean Payton. Signing a huge extension after forcing your way out of Seattle like that and playing under Nathaniel Hackett, that didn't get you going, but Sean Payton's going to get you to where you need to go. Like it was all Hackett's fault that you were a complete unmitigated disaster last year.
That conference and that division in particular. I mean, I think Kansas City's going to take a step back this year because I think they were arrogant with the receiving core, but they're still Kansas City. And then Herbert's Herbert. Like we both think the Vegas Raiders are going to be terrible, but I mean, like, I think the Broncos have a ceiling of about 9 wins, and I think they've got a floor of about 4 or 5 wins again. I do. I think that roster is trying to Band-Aid and piece together a bad roster like Keim did so many times because they know they have a window with Russell Wilson. Say what you want about Kyler Murray. It's like the Cardinals have a long window with K1 if he's healthy. And that's why they can go this rebuild on the fly route. They can't do that with Russell Wilson. He's got like 2 years left, or he's toast. He's done. They got to try to win now. Yeah.
What if he can't play? I mean, Peyton was able to overcome a washed Drew Brees, and a washed Drew Brees is significantly better than Russell Wilson. I mean, it's not the accuracy is not even close.
Yeah.
So I like this. Vortex Vision Man is saying week 1 Commanders fall to the Cardinals 24-17. Already got a score prediction here on July 25th.
I already have a bet. BetMGM plus 200 Cardinals, baby. Do it. Money line right now.
You're all over the money line.
Ron Rivera and Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett, and they're a 6-point favorite. Come on, guys. What are we doing?
You don't think they're going to ride the new ownership bump?
No, I think they'll blow it like they always do. It's the command. Like, I like some of the Commanders players, but this narrative that they're a 6-point favorite. I know they're at home, so they get 3 points, but it's the Commanders, bro. It's Daniel Jones in week 2. I will be shocked, even if this team wins 2 games this year, if they don't split their first 2 games. They're going to win one of their first 2. Book it right now.
At the BetMGM Sportsbook.
Do it.
Yeah. I mean, that future right there is so bright. You got to wear some Shady Rays.
That's right.
Just to look at it because it's so damn bright. Shady Rays, of course, has the best deal of the season. You need to take advantage of it. And you can do it by using our promo code PHNX. It's going to get you 50% off 2 or more pairs of premium polarized sunglasses. Check for yourself what 250,000 people rating 5 stars right now online. Shady Rays. Check them out, shadyrays.com. You can also check them out in person. The store up there at Kierland Commons, just North Scottsdale. Shady Rays, of course, 5-star rated premium polarized sunglasses. They got something for everyone. I got one for my entire family, a pair of sunglasses, myself, my wife, my kid. You can find, of course, a pair of shades or 6 for yourself. Check them out, shadyrays.com, and don't forget to use that promo code PHNX when you purchase.
Speaking of sweet, sweet deals, check out the PHNX merchandise locker with deals on gear up to 50% off happening right now. I bought 9 shirts this morning for me and my loved ones at the PHNX merchandise locker. Spend over $50, you get shipping for free. And if you're just thinking, Johnny, I want a shirt for free, I can help you with that. Become a diehard at gophnx.com. No better time to become a diehard as training camp on the horizon. Get exclusive access to depth charts, insight videos from the man to my right on the Cardinal Discord. We're going to be hanging out there, talking ball when we're not on air. Plus, of course, you get discounts up to 20% for all PHNX related events. We've got events coming up. Hopefully some will be Cardinal related that we can tell you about soon. But again, check it out. PHNX merchandise locker, gophnx.com. As Bo mentioned, Howard Balzer dropping articles on the reg like his one today on the Cardinals offense. No better place to get geared up for football season than with PHNX.
Yep, absolutely. Howard just churning it out this week, it's only going to get more and more content as training camp rages the next couple of days. Can't wait, and you can get immediate access once you sign up and become a diehard to our Discord and get all that content right there at your fingertips. Come tomorrow when I'm out there at practice, and you'll see it, of course, on our socials at PHNX_Cardinals on Instagram and Threads and Twitter and at Johnny Venerable and at Bo Brock. But of course, you want all the access. Become a diehard today. I didn't get 9 shirts, but our Bird Gang Till I Die shirt is on sale. You got to go cop that immediately. It's our only white shirt that we have right now, and it's got the red and the white. I love it. It's great. It's going to be one I'm going to be wearing at tailgates for the entire season.
2 very different questions in the chat. Eddie, why the F do you both look so sweaty? I am sweaty. Do I look that sweaty? It's tank season. It's 120 degrees outside.
I don't know.
Jalen Blair in the chat saying time is practice.
I don't have a single drop of condensation on me at all. I mean, I'm dry as a bone right now.
You got good air conditioning there. What time is practice tomorrow, Bo Brock?
State Farm opens up at 10:30 tomorrow. It's not open to the public. Thursday is the first open to the public practice. And I think the players are going to hit the field around 12:15 or 12:30.
So as we close the show, let's do our official predictions. Does the team place Kyler Murray on the PUP list tomorrow, Bo Brock? Yes or no?
Oh man. I think he probably lands on the PUP.
I'm going to say no, he doesn't land on the PUP. Kyler Murray is off the PUP and in your hearts, taking snaps tomorrow, running around. It's the biggest storyline. This team needs good vibes. Yes, off the PUP, ready to rock and roll.
Give it to me. I'm rooting for that. I'm playing a Johnny conservative over here. I'm conservative Ken.
You are. You love doing that.
Your Cardinals Ken.
Go deposit money in your 401k. I'm out here at the slot machine. I'm here on the blackjack table, living the life. Eddie says yes. Jalen says yes. K. Gordon says no. Agent 47 says no, but he will not play week 1. Jose saying no. And Robert saying that you or I look shiny. So we'll take it.
We're tan. Got a lot of sun.
We've been out in the sun, and now we're going to be out at BetMGM at training camp with all of you. Bull Brock at Bull Brock. I'm at Johnny Venerable. Like and subscribe. Hey, guess what? We got 6 shows for you this week because we love you. Like this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. We are anxiously awaiting to eclipse 15,000 subscribers. You can help get us there. Share this video around. Your definitive Cardinal coverage starts and ends with the PHNX Cardinal podcast. For Bo, I'm Johnny. We'll see you tomorrow.